There's a weird story. Two girls, maybe they're 15, 16, and they came out of the subway stop in front of 770 Eastern Parkway. In the headquarters of Chabad are on a big street called Eastern Parkway. And one of the subway stops is right in front of the headquarters. The address is 770. So they got out. They looked all worried and all this. They weren't religious, Jewish girls. And they saw the Hasidim there. And they asked, can somebody help us? We need help. We need help with our father. We heard that there's the letters of the Rebbe. Can we look at the letters of the Rebbe? So there was one Chassid, his name was Rabbi Yitzchak Lipsch. And he saw these two girls over there, and he spoke English, whatever, these girls spoke English. And so he spoke English. So they told him the problem, that their father went crazy and that they don't know what to do and they want some help. And the father says that he boarded himself up in the house. He won't let anybody else in the house. And he closed all the windows, and he went mad. So he spread like flour and sugar all over the floor, and he almost won't eat anything because he says there's evil spirits all over in the flour and the sugar that gets rid of them, and he has to barricade himself in order to get. So can anybody help? So they went. They talked to different people. Nobody knew what to do. So they said, somehow or other, they heard about these letters of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. This story must have been, I don't know, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. So Rabbi Lipsch said, okay, let's go and see. So they went into the synagogue over there, the women's section, and there were the books of the letters of the Rebbe. There's like 40 books or something of letters of the Rebbe. And he opened up one of the books, and there was a letter about that they shouldn't worry about. Amazing. The letter said something about don't worry about witchcraft, that those things are of no worry nowadays, that we just have to increase in learning Torah and doing the commandments. And it was more good things that the Rebbe wrote. So they said, could you please come and read this letter to our father? So he said, listen, you can take it. We'll copy the letter down. He said, no, we don't know what to do. He won't listen to us. You're a rabbi. He'll listen to you. So they said, okay, I'll do it. So they went to the apartment. They opened up the door. There's a terrible, musty smell that came from the apartment because he had closed up the windows and he'd been locked up in there for 2-3 weeks, maybe months. I don't know how long the story was. So they opened up the door and all they heard was screaming. Was just screaming, screaming. And they said, listen, maybe read this letter to our father. Read it to him. He says, how can I read it? I can't go into the place. It's all dark in there. He wouldn't turn on the lights. And it smells terrible. It's just sort of stuffy and terrible, musty in this. And he said, well, just stand in the door and start to read. So he hasn't come out. He hasn't eaten anything. He eats only some, scraps or something, whatever it is. He has his crazy ways of doing things, but he hasn't gone out of the house to buy anything or to do anything. So he starts reading the letter. Meanwhile, the father is screaming and he's yelling, go. So he reads the letter of the Rebbe. He just starts reading over the noise and everything. As he's reading, the noise sort of subsides. Father subsides. And he finishes reading, reads the letter again. Each time he reads the letter, the man, you hear it, he becomes sort of a little calmer. Finally, it ends up that after they read the letter about 4 or 5 times, he stood up and he stood up and he walked over to his daughter. He said, listen, I'm really, really hungry. The father said, I'm really hungry. Can you take me to get something to eat? So they took him out of the house. One of the daughters took him out of the house. The other one opened up all the windows, and she and Reb Lipsch, they swept the place, cleaned it up a little bit as much as they could. And they put the furniture back where it was in the first place. They aired the place out, and they washed it. By the time the father came back, he came back with a couple of, whatever it is, sandwiches, tuna fish sandwiches, something like that. And he ate, and he said, read the letter again. They read the letter to him again. And Rabbi Lipsch brought tefillin with him. He put tefillin on him. And sure enough, the father, little by little, he got better until the father was, normal. I think he went for treatments or something like that. He went to this, but he became normal. And father became normal. And the two girls afterwards, they came back. They looked for Rabbi Lipsch, and they thanked him tremendously that their father was a hopeless case. They were afraid to call the police, and the doctors, they were afraid they would just take him and institutionalize him, and that would be it. They would never see the father again. And the way he was only a danger to himself. He wasn't dangerous to anybody else, but a danger to himself is also a danger. And they said that if what Rabbi Lipsch wouldn't help them, that they would have no choice but to call the police and have him put into an institution. But it worked. Amazingly enough, the letter itself talked about exactly the situation they were in, and it talked about Torah. And so the letters of the Rebbe are Torah, so they read the letter, and miraculously had this miraculous effect on him that the man actually just hearing the words of the Rebbe, it just brought him to his senses. So it should be with all of the Jewish people, that the words of the Rebbe should bring all of the Jewish people to their senses, to their Jewish senses, and eventually the Jewish people will do what they can, and God will do what he can. They can do a lot. They'll bring the third temple from heaven, and all of the Jews will happily be gathered together with the Rebbe, King Mashiach at their head, to the Holy Land in a true Gula Amitit Veshlema, and the whole world will come to worship only the Creator, the God who's creating them. Have a good day with Mashiach, and I'll see you all tomorrow.